button. Marquia sold 10 homes this year. Consistency and doing the activities was the key, and she just gave a car away to her grandmother. Isn't that cool? Okay.
Wow.
All right. Who had a good Thanksgiving? Anyone want to share anything about Thanksgiving? Anything that you're grateful for? Any cool conversations that came up? Any new clients? Anyone want to share any good news?
I'll share, Bill.
All right, go ahead, Marquia.
So over the weekend, I did a referral when I went out of town to someone in Savannah, and so she wanted me to show her clients via Duo, but she still wanted to keep them. She was just going to pay me to open the doors, and then all of a sudden she was just like, you know what, just sign a buyer brokerage agreement, and you can pretty much have the client and give me a referral. So it was funny how it just happened so fast that I was able to get a client right back. And I wrote a contract yesterday. Actually, wrote 2 contracts yesterday. So I gained a buyer, wrote 2 contracts, and I went on a contract last week for my buyer. So
oh my
a lot
gosh.
of activity.
Amazing. So you referred a piece of business down to Savannah. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. So now you got a referral partner in Savannah. Now you got one more human that's out there looking to support Marquia Smith's business. I think that's awesome. Ryan, did you want to share something?
Oh yeah, I was just saying because the last couple weeks I've been talking to this client that they were coming down from Chicago, and so we went out. They were here Saturday just for the day, but it was a great chance to work with someone who wasn't from here because they needed a lot of help. Like they'd never been here, and so it was a good exercise in trying. Their focus was so huge, and to understand the area, is difficult. I think if you've never been somewhere,
right,
like to understand, like that's actually 35 minutes away. It looks like it's close on the map, but it's not, or things
right,
like that. So I think I did a pretty good job of like narrowing their focus down, and they were so thankful when they got here that they gave me a present. Like they were like, "Thank you, we brought you a gift. You've been so helpful."
I love it.
We haven't even seen a home yet, but okay. And
Well,
so
you've earned the business because of preparation. And
yeah.
Right, preparation from a time standpoint, and almost more importantly, preparation from like you almost have to be like extra compassionate to help a family like that, because like they don't know where the mall is or the church is, or the highway is, or the school district, the schools are. Like you have to start at like minute 1.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't take long, but I made them a few little maps, I think, with a few like logos on it, and kind of mapped out where the neighborhoods were, so they understood like the relationship of it.
Yeah.
And we saw a couple great houses that they really liked. I think they're just overwhelmed, like because they'd never been here, and they did some touring in the morning on their own, and they were, on overload. And so I know we'll reconnect this week, but
Great job.
I feel like if it hadn't been their first trip, they would have wanted to make an offer on this house, but they're just like, they said, we got to have a lot of life decisions to make, and they haven't talked to the schools yet, and like, all of those other things. But anyway, it was a good exercise in like, okay, I'm not just taking these people out where they want to go. Like I have to make them narrow their focus and understand where to go. And so, I think it was a good day. I think
you're actually there's kind of a theme to what you're saying that is kind of the theme of what I wanted to talk about this morning. So I'm going to come back to that here in 1 second. Anthony, it looks like you want to share something.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was definitely a great weekend for me. Starting with Thanksgiving, I actually made 103 contacts through my social media platform, and it wasn't just likes. I actually engaged conversation with those, and since Monday, I've been using my social media platform for just Magnificent Monday, terrific Gratitude Tuesday, having a different saying for each day. And on Thursday, I posted something, then I did a little podcast, thankful for what I'm thankful for. And there was just so much outreach from that. And I responded to all the comments. And now what I've gone back to doing over the weekend is planting that seed and actually watering that seed that I did. So now it's starting to build on my database because I'm getting their email information because these are people that I haven't been in contact with. And today started my thing. I achieved my goal, my 1% goal of that, making myself 1% better. 30 days ago, I started 6:30, and now I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I figured I had to do something additionally now to get 1% better. And I started at the gym today. So I started my Motivation Monday.
Wow.
And not to be a motivational speaker for people, but I did a motivational Mondays, and I'm going to be doing a Thankful Thursdays on my social media platform. And I've just gotten so much great feedback, and even myself, I've just bettered myself, and I can see the change in me in the last 6 to 8 weeks that I've kind of the mindset and the action plans that I've put in place to make myself better. Because I know that this snowball that I've developed is just growing and growing and growing. Yep. I'm sorry, but that's pretty much it.
100%. Man, you're actually touching on the theme too. Fantastic job. I mean, wow, that just makes my day right there. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to share anything?
I'll share right quick.
All right, Tracy, go ahead.
So over the weekend, I actually shadowed an agent. She had a few showings and things. So I shadowed her on that just to see that whole process. And then on Saturday evening, she says, Tracy, they want to see a few more properties on tomorrow. Do you think that's something you would be able to do for me? So I actually went out and showed 5 properties to her clients on Sunday, all the way up in Lawrenceville and Lilburn.
Yeah.
So that was exciting for me,
Great.
to, be able to map it out, get the lockbox open and all of that stuff.
You like feel like a realtor, right?
I did.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I can't underestimate the importance of shadowing, right? It's watch and just be there and feel the energy and see how they prepped and see how they respond to certain, things that pop up and questions and these kind of things, and see what the follow-up looks like. Because that's, in many ways, that's how you earn opportunities, right? So I don't know who you're talking about, Tracy, but I'll just throw out some generalized themes. If you are, it's a win-win situation, right? You offer your assistance and help this particular agent. And as they have access to more families, then you potentially have an opportunity to help those families, right? Whether it be as a showing agent, a buyer's agent, strictly from just the learning perspective. And as that agent grows, there might be more additional opportunities that you could choose whether you want to take advantage of. So the more people you know and the more relationships that you build, by the way, inside or outside of our market center, the more opportunity that will come across your plate. So great work. All right, let's do one more. All right, never mind. We'll jump right into it. All right, couple clerical things real fast. The last day of reporting for this 4th week is going to be Tuesday. It's going to be tomorrow, just to end the month up. So make sure that everything is updated as much as possible. And all of these things that you guys are doing, Anthony and the rest of you, with these huge numbers for contacts and in bold and all that, let's make sure we get our numbers in so we can know what we're doing. We're a little bit behind in reporting for this month. So please take a moment to look at that and to update. And then don't forget that this Thursday from 10 to 12 is the Art of Influence, which is the DISC class. I know a lot of you guys have been asking about DISC. That is from 10 to 12. I do believe you have to register for that. There's some links on the daily email from the office. That is being conducted by or being hosted by Shelter Mortgage and conducted by a woman named Cynthia Matheny, I think is how you pronounce her last name. She's awesome. I've attended her classes before. She's really, really good. So I'm just going to encourage everyone. That's 10 to 12 this Thursday. Okay. All right. What I have in mind, I'll kind of explain the theme I was referring to first, and we'll use that to kind of go into the weeds a little bit with prepping for sellers. Okay, both Anthony and Ryan did a lot of activity. Oh, let me say one more thing first. I forgot to say this after Anthony spoke. So remember that the point of social media is to get interaction, right? And the point of the interaction is to build the relationship. And the point of building one of the benefits of having deep, great relationships is you get to help a lot of families, right? The point is not just to like throw out there random stuff about your life and then get no interaction whatsoever, right? Anthony is making all of those posts about his audience, not necessarily about him. And that's why he's receiving more interaction. Would you agree with that, Anthony?
Totally. It's making it about them, not about me. I'm not even tapping into that.
That's right.
Yeah.
You'll get to that. We'll bring up real estate later. Like you'll build the relationship. It'll naturally come. You'll get paid lots of times. I'm not worried at all about that. And I love the themes, by the way. What a lot of people do on social media is make it all about themselves, and they come off a little pretentious. And then they say, well, gosh, this person's taken 3 pictures this week with a sold sign. Maybe they don't need any more money. Maybe they're really busy. I don't know if they can handle my file, right? Okay, so the theme I want to talk about today is the fact that if we focus on the sale and like how fast we can bring up real estate, it's about us. If we focus on the relationship and deepening the relationship and asking great questions and preparation and great follow-up and organizing, just a great experience like Ryan did, right? Then the rest of the stuff will fall into place, right? If we focus on the sale, it's about us. If we focus on the relationship, it's about them. Because there's a good chance, I mean, there's not necessarily a good chance, but there's definitely a chance that the person that you meet at an open house, let's say, that walks in and doesn't have a real estate agent, it may not be in their best interest to buy right now. Is that a possibility? Okay, so, and they may not even know it, by the way. And so in my opinion, the most important strategy that you should have is to try to fully understand their circumstances. The only way that's going to happen is if you ask a lot of questions and you and them come to the conclusion together that this is a smart move to move forward with, getting it, pre-qualified and all these kind of things so that they can purchase, right? Or to verify that they're in a great position to sell or that it makes sense. I mean, God, if I probably have talked hundreds and hundreds of sellers out of selling, right? Because it didn't make sense for them to sell. There was they didn't have a deep enough need and the money didn't work out or whatever it may have been. And I kept the relationship because I was more interested in the relationship and less interested in when I was going to get paid. That make sense? When you come across trying to like get the sale as fast as possible, it's not as authentic, right? And it can come off a little bit or a lot salesy. Marquia kind of touched on it too, like, hey, I could work this lead, right? But I'm going to let somebody else work it because it makes more sense for somebody else to work it, right? If she didn't have any other prospects, she would have been driving down to Savannah probably and pretending like she knew the market. Does that make sense? So one of the things that I would say is kind of improving your seller skills is learning how to ask better questions and coming into the conversation with a sense of how can I put myself in this family's shoes so that I can ask and get the information to them that is most meaningful and is going to be most helpful. What do you guys hear when I say that? Oh, wait. Somebody have anything to say? Come on, y'all. You've been off for 5 days.
Bill, what was say it again?
I'm saying that I see way too often people that are focused, that maybe they don't realize it, but based on the way they approach an encounter, they're much more focused on themselves. And so they're like, well, this person, like, oh my gosh, it's going to take them 3 months to make a decision. 3 months? I'm helping people that I have not gotten paid to help 15 years ago. Like, it's the relationship, y'all. It's not the sale. You'll get, as long, if you have enough relationships, you'll have plenty of sales. But if you got to focus on the relationship, you got to get the details of what they're looking for and why, most importantly, why, and the true motivation behind how they want to make decisions, so that you can decide, how aggressive do I need to be, or do I need to share something with them to add that to kind of the decision-making pie, for example, right? Real estate is only a very small segment of their world. And it's also a very small segment, or I'm sorry, oftentimes it's a very big segment, but of their entire financial picture, right? I've had a lot of owners that were leasing their homes, and they came to me and they say, I'm ready to renew the lease, or I think I'm ready to sell it. And we look at the numbers, and it makes much more sense for them to do the opposite thing. So I share the information with them and I say, what do you think? Is this surprising to you? Do you have any questions? Does this change any of the way you approach this? Tell me more about what you're thinking. And then if ultimately they decide to move forward anyway, it's not, they're doing it with all the information. Can you guys think of a time where maybe you didn't behave that way?
I can think of a time. So my other career is skincare. I'm a consultant with Mary Kay. So I know there have been times when I've had a goal and I put a date on it, and the date is fast approaching and I hadn't done what I was supposed to do to make that goal happen. I know there have been times where I would get on the phone and contact my customers and kind of not really force something on them, but just think about what I want and just say some things that, where I could have actually attained my goal with them had I just talked to them, instead of kind of at the ninth hour, like, okay, let's say my goal was to get a new team member. And I waited until the last minute. So now I'm saying anything to get them to become a consultant based on what I want and not listen to what they want. And then it would happen that they would become a consultant, but not stay a consultant, because they did it because of me and not what they wanted. I didn't listen.
That's brilliant. That makes perfect sense to me. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if your goal is to be a long-term agent and build those relationships, that's what you need to do. Because when you push people and you're like just trying to get them to buy something because of your numbers, people feel that. And it's really the feeling that makes people go with a specific person. And once you create that situation, they're not going to refer you to anybody else. Like, you may get a sale out of them, but it's going to be that sale and it's going to be one and done. So
yes.
All right, I like where this is going. Thank you both for sharing that. Can anyone think of a time that's happened to them? I love that.
I was going to ask, what's the fine line between like pushing someone because you know that that's what they really want, and kind of just getting like super lax and just being like, you know what, I don't think that you should buy right now. Like, because I had a transaction where the person it was just getting tedious. They were being very meticulous as far as numbers and wanting to like lowball, and like it's been short inventory. So it came to a point where I'm like, hey, like, maybe like you should think about like waiting. The person wasn't in town, so it was like a lot of virtual showings. And I felt like I told them like I don't think that you should buy right now, but they kept pushing the ball forward.
Yeah, so
But
there's one thing that I would, again, whenever I like critique your wording, it's not necessarily because I think that's what you perfectly said to the person. It's just what you're saying now. And I just want to make sure that we kind of go over the nuances there. So we all have to be very careful in saying, I don't think you should buy. We should restate the facts that everyone has come to and say, what are you thinking? Tell me what you're thinking. Does this cause you to be more excited about buying or less excited about buying? Right? Does buying now make more sense to you, or does it perhaps make less sense to you? Right? Another way to kind of ask that question is, I could say something like, you know, Alexis, I want my sense of urgency to match your sense of urgency. Okay. So
okay, that makes sense.
how am I doing here? Right. You could also ask something to the effect of, you know, let's just take a moment and let's pause. I want to just go back to my notes and review the most important things that you stated in our initial conversation. You needed to be in this particular school district because your kid was getting bullied, right? And you needed to be in this particular school district because it's a closer commute to your work. And you stated you wanted to be there by May 1st. And you said that you were able to buy in this price range and that you needed a basement and you needed a fenced yard and you needed 4 bedrooms. Has anything changed? Is there anything that's changed that I should know about? Because if we don't find a home in the next week, you're not going to be able to be a homeowner by May 1st. So I just want to make sure there's an open dialogue around that. If you tell me June 1st is okay, great, we got some time, no pressure. But if May 1st is a drop dead date for whatever reason it is, we got to get going. Okay, so I'm not telling them that I need them to be under contract or to, you know, pick up the pace or something. I'm telling them that as they are currently going, they're not going to hit their goal. And sometimes that's kind of the difference in many ways, interestingly enough, between teaching and coaching, right? If I say, Anthony, you're not turning in your numbers, you're not going on enough appointments, you're not going to hit your goal. That doesn't feel great. But if instead I say, Anthony, I'm looking at the numbers you reported, and you've gone on 1 appointment, and in order to hit your goals, you probably need to go on 4 appointments. How you feel about that? And then Anthony says, well, it turns out my wife just got a raise and I actually don't need as much money before. Okay, great. So let me ask you this. How much money do you need to make? Because we shouldn't have a goal of 4 if you only need 1. And I shouldn't be pushing you for 4 if 1 makes you satisfied.
Right.
Right. And so there's a good chance, I mean, the people's goals and lives and stuff is going to change every day. So if they start saying things or behaving in a way it's not in alignment with what you have heard from them, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, let's pause for a second. I want to make sure that I'm being the best, I'm creating the best experience for you, and that I'm able to fully understand your needs. And I just want to review, because some of the things that we're talking about today are a little different than what I remember according to my notes. So can we just review a couple things real fast? No pressure. I just want to, like, if I'm going to help you, I want to do the right thing, right? I want my sense of urgency to match your sense of urgency.
Makes
Bill?
sense.
Yeah.
I think everything you're saying is absolutely spot on. It presumes that you've asked enough questions in the beginning to know their motivation. So I think sometimes it's so easy, especially as new agents, to say, oh, I've got somebody, I'm going to show them homes. And we get excited and don't do those thorough questions so that we can actually truly help them, because it's a little uncomfortable, right? You're digging a little deep with people, but that's a step that if you can train yourself and discipline yourself not to skip, you'll have easier time with people because you'll understand more about them.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, look, you're going to find out eventually. You may as well find out at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
After,
It's kind of like in the career visioning process, which is the hiring process, right? A very, very detailed process for how to bring on talent into your organization. They say, look, if you choose not to follow it the first time, you will choose to follow it the second time, right? Because of how much money and time it cost you. So you may as well just follow it the first time. Very true. Okay, so any questions so far? And then we can move on to what some of those questions might be. Should we do that?
I have a question.
Sure.
So how can you approach a potential buyer? I found in myself in situations where, I thought they weren't working with another agent. I've asked them about it, and then it turns out that they are working with somebody else.
They just lied to you?
I don't know if it's they lied or they're talking to a couple of agents and then they choose to go with another agent and I don't realize it.
And then when do you find out?
Well, when they become unresponsive, or let's say I have one that just, I guess I've, asked them and they said that they were working with somebody else. Like later on, after I've been conversing back and forth with emails and everything.
Yep.
So.
There's a lot in that question. I think you got a couple of things. Number one is it's possible that, first of all, that happens to everybody. Okay, so don't feel like you are it's not you. It just is what it is, right? The way that you can minimize that is, again, by asking a lot of questions, right? Have you seen properties? Have you been looking at properties prior to today, right? Oh, well, yeah, my friend's a realtor. Oh, so tell me more about that. Oh, well, I don't really like working with my friends from a professional standpoint. Okay, great. So are you open to interviewing other agents? Yes. Okay, great. When are we meeting? Right. So you just have to keep it, just keep going. Or they'll say, no, I'm totally using that other agent. So just out of curiosity, why'd you call me? Right. And they might say, well, I asked that woman a question and she didn't know the answer. So I'm a little concerned that she might not be the right person. Oh, great. What are you expecting from your realtor? Right? Tell me what a 10+ experience would look like. Right? What other negative experiences have you had with a real estate agent? That was pretty assumptive, by the way. Right? That's saying that is a negative experience and I want to know more about it so I can twist the knife a little bit. What other negative experiences have you had with a real estate agent? Wow, sounds terrible. What are you looking for in your next agent? That's also assumptive. I'm assuming that there's going to be a next agent. You see what I'm saying? So Jenny, the thing is you gotta, that may have happened because your level of urgency didn't match theirs. It may have happened because you didn't ask enough questions. It may have happened because they didn't know what you did and what the other agent did. If I was to guess, I think it probably was the person saw another home, somebody else's name was on it. They chose to call the other agent and the other agent just was aggressive, right? And that's why one of the very first things you should say to a buyer is, there's two things I want you to know right away, even before we meet. Number one is will be compensated by the owner of the home that you pursue. So first of all, I don't have to be a salesperson, right? I don't have to push you in a direction you don't want to be pushed. If you don't like house number one, that's fine. Get back in the car. We'll go to house number two. Okay. I don't want you to buy a dump. because I don't want you to call me in 3 years and want me to sell a dump, right? I want you to buy a perfect house for yourself. Okay, so the first thing is I'm ultimately compensated by the owner of the home that you ultimately purchased, whether it's the first home or the 18th home, right? By the way, you could say like the 18th home. Then they're like, oh my gosh, 18 homes is a lot, right? You create the reality. Oh my gosh, I might have to show 9 homes, right? You're the one that creates the reality. So the other thing I would say is that no matter where you find a property, whether you're driving around, you're on the internet, somebody else's app, some other company's app, Zillow, blah, 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 blah. If you see a home that you have some questions about, call me. I can help you pursue any of those properties and make it super simple and super easy to get inside each one of them. By the way, if you call an agent whose name is on that listing, that person is being paid to represent the seller. And they're also trained to extract as much information from you as possible to use against you in future possible negotiations. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. So any property you see, anywhere you see it, I want you to call me. Does that sound good? Yes. So Jenny, that person had, let's say you guys parted ways and then they went back on Zillow and they were looking for property. They found something they wanted. They'd call you, say, hey, Jenny, I see this 123 Hill Street. Is that one you can help me with? Absolutely. When would you like to see it? You see what I'm saying? Now, if none of that works, meaning we are where we are today, I would have a conversation with that woman, if possible, to say, hey, I'm trying to become a better business owner and a better real estate agent every single day. That's the commitment I've made to my family and to myself, etc. Is there anything that you can share with me that could help me with that, right? Because we were talking. I thought I was, I thought I was delivering great service to you and making myself available to you, etc. And then, it ultimately didn't work out. Is there anything that you can share with me? Well, you didn't answer the phone that time. And so I went to another real estate agent. Okay, there's your answer. Or, I decided I wanted to work with a man. Okay, well, there's your answer, right? I decided I didn't want to work with somebody named Jenny. Okay, I mean, people do crazy things for crazy reasons. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're going to ask that question, you better have some thick skin. Because a lot of times they will tell you straight up, and it may not feel good. Does that make sense? So you're in information gathering phase now, which is how do I make certain, or I shouldn't even say make certain, how do I minimize the likelihood of something like that happening again? I got to probably set better expectations. I got to make sure that my level of urgency matches theirs. And I got to be willing to ask for feedback. Like if you don't get the listing, say, hey, Candace, just out of curiosity, I'm trying to become better every single day so I can help my clients make great decisions. Just curious, is there anything that I said or didn't say that caused you to choose the other agent? Well, yeah, Bill, you said that you don't do Facebook ads. Okay, there you go. There's your answer. Right? Or, oh my gosh, you said that open houses don't work. And last time the open house worked. So I didn't like the way you said that. Okay, cut that out of your presentation. Does that make sense?
And sometimes if they can't give you an answer, it's because you talked too much and didn't listen enough. And they can't put their finger on it, but it happens a lot. I know this happened to me a lot when I was new and nervous. When I'm nervous, I tend to talk because I want to fill that space in case anything I can't handle comes up. And I was so concerned about showing how much information I had that there was a listing I didn't get. And I know when I walked out of there, it was because I talked too much and I didn't know anything about them by the time I walked out. So that's another I think thing that can trip us up is if we don't go in and ask questions and listen. And you really have to do that shift in your mind between, okay, here I am to there you are. That thing we talked about in the communication. So when the door opens, it's all about them. You immediately just sink into their environment and into their world.
Right. Like they're
Not
not
sink,
going
but
to ask
immerse.
you, they're not going to ask you your sales stats. They're not. Okay, that's not going to happen. I was asked to, this is nuts. I was asked, this is, I think, maybe my second listing appointment ever. The guy handed me a sheet of paper and it was like January, February, March, April. And he wanted like number of appointments you've gone on, number of listings you've taken, number of listings that received a price reduction, number of days on the market, average list price to sales price ratio. And he wanted me to fill it out. I said, look, if you're going to pick an agent based on the way an agent fills this out, I'm not your guy. And that was it. Right. That was a very short appointment. Otherwise, hundreds and hundreds of appointments later never happened. So they're not going to ask you your sales stats. So then you would say to yourself, well, what are they interested in? They're interested in how they feel when they're in your presence. And just like Candace said, if they're talking, they'll feel great. If they feel like they're in a commercial and they don't know how long the commercial is going to last, they don't like that, because they're like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to talk all the time, every time a conversation is necessary, right? So if you go in and you've got these pre-qualification questions memorized and internalized, you're asking questions like, when we last spoke, you said you wanted to sell your home and move to Chicago. Is that right? Or the other way of asking that, of course, is, gosh, moving's a lot of hard work. What's got that on your radar? Or when the home sells, where are you going to be moving to? Right? How soon do you have to be there? And they'll say, oh, well, we need to be there by the first day of school, or we need to be there by February 1st because that's when my wife starts her job or whatever, right? And then you can work backward to determine how quick you got to get this stuff done, right? Have you looked online to see to check out the prices of similar homes in your area? What I'm really asking is, how well do you know the market? Because I need to know the market better than you. So if you say, well, I know that the last 4 homes have sold for $147.67.5 per square foot, and the home on the second corner has gotten this done, and the home on the third corner has gotten this done, damn, you better go preview some property. But if they say, oh, that's why we called you, I'm not saying you don't need to preview property, but it's a lower burden, if you will. Does that make sense? By asking that question, you can also figure out what kind of personality they are, right? If they say, yeah, okay, you probably got a high D on your hands. You see what I'm saying? If you were to ask, hey, were you surprised by what you saw? Right? How much do you expect to, or how much would you like to list your home for, realistically? What do you think the point of adding realistically is in there?
I think because everyone thinks their house is worth so much more than it really is, probably.
That's exactly right. Now, if I were to say, Ashley, what would you like to list your home for? And I pause for a second, realistically, when you're asked a question like that, you're probably going to have a bit of a range in mind, or you're probably going to have like kind of that high number and low number. And when I say realistically, you're going to give me the low number.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
Now, when I've asked you what your real estate financial goals are, I do the exact opposite, which is, I mean, how would you feel if I said, hey, Jenny, how much do you want to make this year, realistically? In fact, most people respond by saying realistically. Well, I think realistically, I'd like to make 60. I say, I don't want that number. Give me the other number. Okay, 100. Okay, because there's a plan for 100 and it ain't that hard. So stop thinking about realistic. The only reason why you say realistic is because that's what most of your friends make, or that's what you saw on TV or some other nonsense. Does that make sense? So I can speak certain ways depending on where I want the conversation to go. Right. So I would never say, Ginny, what do you want to make this year? And she's like, ooh, 100. And I say, realistically. And she's like, oh gosh, now I feel small. You see what I'm saying? And for those that have sat with me and said that realistic crap, I've cut you off right away, haven't I?
Yes.
That's the point, right? Ashley made her goal in about 2 months. I said, okay, are we done? You gonna take the next 10 months off, or are we gonna have bigger goals next? Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So realistically, and then they give you whatever number it is, right? So is there a price that you won't go below? Well, I won't go below 400. Tell me more about that. Well, my neighbor sold for 400, so I'm not selling for less than 400. Okay. Don't fight them on the telephone, just get the appointment. But just take note that you may have to have a conversation about where they got that from, right? And how, like, for example, let's say the home's listed for 400 and it ain't selling. And it's been on the market for a couple of weeks. And let's say the family is moving to San Francisco to be closer to the grandkids or something like that. Then later on, I could say, you know, Tracy, you know, our home has been on the market for $400,000 for 3 weeks without hardly any showings and no offers. As of this moment, I don't think we have a single prospect that's willing to pay $400,000 for this home. So I recommend a price reduction to 380, let's say. And she's like, I can't go below 4. So I understand that's a frustrating situation you're in, but I have to ask you, is it more important that you get 400,000 for your home, or is it more important that you go to San Francisco to be with your grandkids? And you just stop talking. And then now they know 400 ain't working, and they're basically choosing 400 over their grandkids, and that doesn't feel good. Make sense? So sometimes you got to put you got to take their thought, shift it around a little bit, and show it right back to them. How does this work? Make sense? How much do you owe on the property? Have you thought of selling it yourself? Do you plan on interviewing more than one agent for the opportunity to sell your home? Will you be purchasing another home? Do you need money from this home to buy the next home? Could you quickly describe your home for me? Quickly. Right? They're like, well, you walk in and on the left-hand side, that room's 11.5 by 12.5. And on the far left corner, it's got this. And in the far right corner, it's got this. And, you know, oh my gosh, let me tell you the story about how we picked out the paint for that room. It's like, quickly. See what I'm saying? How would you rate your home on a scale from 1 to 10? What would make it a 10? If they say anything shy of a 10, what would make it a 10? Then they're going to tell you what's wrong with their home. It's got a really steep driveway. It's got a horrible backyard. You know, all the windows are old. You know, the floor cracks when we walk on it, blah, 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 right? What are some of the positive features you'd like your buyers to know about your home, right? This is a great one. When choosing an agent to represent you, what is most important? These are all very open-ended questions. And based on the way they respond, will tell you what you need to know about their circumstances and their motivation. And then you can be a great guide for them. That's really all we are. We're just a guide, right? We're just walking them through the process and letting them know periodically when there's a recommendation or when we think they're out of line or whatever. And we're dropping some more information on them so they can make great choices. And you're making them feel good throughout the entire process. Any thoughts, questions? Does this make sense? Does this? And I'm hopeful that sometimes you probably knew a lot of this stuff. It's just helpful to hear it in a way that causes you to approach situations slightly differently or from a slightly different angle. Anyone want to share feedback? Anyone?
Well, I see that I do need to have that list of questions, I believe, in front of me, and I have not been asking the right questions or enough detailed questions to really get to those hard topics and make sure that, I'm using my time wisely and I'm doing what they want me to do.
That's right. Great job. And it's also their time wisely. Right. You're asking these questions not only for your benefit, but for their benefit. Right. I mean, I've asked some insane questions to buyers before, and if they push back, I'll say, look, would you rather me ask you 20 questions and show you 3 homes, or ask you 3 questions and show you 20 homes? Because the more questions I ask, the more time I'm going to save you. Make sense? All right, great job, everyone. All right, let's go around real fast. Tell me what you are taking care of for today. One thing, we got 2 days left in the month. 2 days left. Look at your data, look at your numbers. Hey, have you gone in enough appointments? Have you added enough people to the database? Right? If you have follow-up that you need to take care of from your conversations over Thanksgiving, today's the day. What's your one thing today, Michael?
I got to contact my buyer's lender to find out how much they can afford. That's what I'm doing today.
Well, you should be done by 9:30. So be thinking about the next one thing.
Well, then I'm going to start putting together some home searches.
Beautiful. Great job. I assume all that will take place right after you're done lead generating, right?
Yes, exactly. Right after that.
Lead gen first. You got 2 jobs. Lead gen, which can't get interrupted, and then everything else.
Right on.
That's maintenance work. You can do that after lead gen. Ryan, what's your one thing today?
I need to do some lead gen and set some appointments.
Love it.
A focus. Just, I think last week was tough to reach people. So, a lot of it is kind of trying to follow up with some of the people that I didn't also get a hold of last week too. But
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Have a number in mind, right?
Yes.
All right. Melissa.
Bill, I'm hoping to set 3 appointments today.
Whoa, 3 appointments.
Yeah, it's possible. So let's see what happens.
Oh, I know it's possible. Great job. All right, Anthony.
Oh, okay, I'm off mute. I will go through my cell phone and look at look at my phone and actually make some phone calls for those that numbers or those names that I have in my phone, and basically do my care calling and lead gen through that.
Love it. All right, also have a number in mind. Candace, what are you up to today?
10 coaching calls.
Okay. Markia.
Today I plan to I wrote 2 contracts, follow up on those, and my amendment to address concerns for one of my clients. I need to get that in before the end of the day because today's the last day of due diligence. So working on contracts.
All right, beautiful. And Alexis.
I have a call with a lender at 10 o'clock regarding referrals. And then I plan to get into command and really try to start mastering sending out emails and things from command.
All right, beautiful. Tracy.
First of all, are they starting Ignite today or is it canceled?
It's canceled.
Okay, it's up.
Okay,
Okay, great. Lead gen for me then.
Okay, beautiful. Ashley.
I'm going to send out my monthly newsletter, and I've been out all week, so get reorganized again.
Okay, beautiful. And I think, Jenny, you moved locations on my thing. What are you up to today, Jenny?
I'm going to follow up with some people that showed interest in future buying. So.
All right, focus on them. What's got buying on your mind? Tell me more about that. Why is that important to you? What are you looking for in a real estate agent? Have you looked at homes? What are you seeing? Got any questions, etc. Antoine. Follow up with a seller from listing presentation from last week. Okay, again, that is lead follow-up. That only should happen after lead generation. Okay, I know you know that, Anthony, just like the rest of you. I'm just reminding you. There's lead generation, then there's everything else. Okay, you got to get in the habit of lead generating and protecting that every single day. So when somebody tells me, oh, you know, I say, hey, tell me about your numbers. The numbers aren't what they're supposed to be. And they say, oh, I had a busy week. I had a lot of files to deal with. What, that doesn't have anything to do with your numbers. Lead generation needs to happen regardless. If you're running out of time, you need to work more, or you need to give some of those tasks to somebody else. Make sense? It can't interfere with lead gen, or you won't have a steady stream of clients. Okay. I've just got a bunch of one-on-ones today, and like 3 pages of people that I'm going to call today. So that is my one thing today. I appreciate everyone. I'm very, very thankful. I know I speak on behalf of Candace as well. Candace, you want to add anything?
Nope, just go out, make a mess. We'll help you clean it up.
That's right. Go create some chaos, and then we'll figure it out later. Action.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, see you guys.